Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, last day of winter, grass is a little crispy. We're here by the pigs. We can see how things have progressed over the last few days. We're back up to 108 animals, so I wanted to take a look at where we sit and see what we can learn. So the first thing I noticed was 23 months. We're still just slightly shy of the 1200, so I think this starts to show us clearly 24 months is when we're going to hit the full value of the pigs. So tomorrow these 6 are going to be ready to go, but we don't really have others coming up anytime soon. You know, there's a bit of a batch here. We've got a little bit there. What I'm starting to hope, though, is that maybe once I get rid of these batches of 6 and kind of let larger groups of pigs keep going, so we can see we've got 3 sets of piglets that basically were just born, I guess, today. So that's what filled out our 36. But I'm just not sure. Maybe this pigsty is too small to be fully efficient and being able to turn things around, so we may just have to be running and feeding them for a few months until they get up to the full point, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense to say sell them here at 19 months or 18 months, when we know they can get higher up there. And obviously we're about a quarter of the way on the slurry, so just part of the things I'm going to try to figure out, but my hope is I can get to kind of groups of 12 and 12 and 12, and that will work better, and we won't have these groups of 6 that are slightly skewed. Alright, so aside from that, my next job is, some mayor work that I have to get done today, or would like to get done today. I don't have to get it done today. I could, probably go a few more days, but, just being technically accurate, but it's a pointless discussion at this point. So let me back away a bit so that the engine noise isn't drowning out my narrative. So I'm going down to the south of the map, and we're actually kind of got a good bit of coincidence that came together, which works out well. So I got notified yesterday by someone that they have put in their application to join us as an FM here on server 212, which is great, which means, they're just basically waiting to get onto the server. And so I asked them what field they were planning on using so that I could make sure I had it ready. And as luck would have it, the field they are planning on going on to, 28, is also a field that has been up for auction for a couple days and was one that I needed to get plowed anyway. So the two came together where I have an auction field, but then I also have a new FM field that is one and the same. So heading down to take care of that, and that is basically my plan for today. Once we get to the spring, starting tomorrow at the earliest, I'll take a look and I'll see if I can maybe get the herbicide down on my wheat, and then we'll basically be waiting for harvest, and then we'll see. We still probably have to wait till late fall or into the summer to get enough pigs, because I want to make sure again I can pull 36 pigs off at least, and then we can go from there. I'd probably, as I said, like to keep pulling off groups of 12, but I'm not entirely sure that that's going to work out the way I would like. So there's also been some kind of hints or announcements on FSN of changes that are coming that are going to allow some more cool role play or integration, if you want to call it that, between the website and the game itself, where we'll be able to get more crop types. People will actually be able to sell animals, which is something we've not been able to do at all. So that will give us some options, compared to the Slaughterhouse thing I was talking about, which I did, by the way, find a couple that are out in the mod space. I'm just not entirely sure that they're workable. So I've yet to test them, so I can't really say anything much on that. Because obviously, if they're not really playable, then I wouldn't recommend them for consideration in FSN. Because the concern I have is that they require special trailers, that basically you can't just take your own animals, and that kind of defeats the purpose. So it's really not, then you're basically building up an entire process that requires equipment just dedicated to it. So you would basically have to have a trailer that was specific to get those there, and one of the mods itself said like you couldn't use animals that you didn't buy. Like there were you would buy animals on pallets. You'd buy pallets of animals, which is kind of ridiculous, but and those are the animals that then could get put in the slaughterhouse. So basically it was kind of like, to me it seemed like some sort of a fill type limitation, and so that's what I'm worried that they all struggle with, is that nobody's figured out a way to actually take the actual animals and get them into a production building of some sort. But there is one that doesn't specifically say that's how it works, so that's the one I'm more interested in testing, and the hope is that that won't have those limitations, but I do not know yet. So anyway, we're down here on 28. As you can see, not a huge field, certainly, which would make sense, because otherwise it would not be below the $500,000 limit that a FM has coming onto a server, and it wouldn't be available as something for a new FM. Alright, so I've got my GPS set. Just need to kind of give myself at least a couple headlands on the end. So I'll run over this way, run the headland up, and then I think I can just start going across. And as you can see, this is not huge. It's one of the reasons I wasn't like terribly concerned about if and when I could get to this, because I knew we're probably talking under an hour to get this field plowed, but not quite sure how everything's going to play out. I'm still leaning pretty heavily from the bee side to really eliminate bees from the farm. While the honey is interesting, it served its purpose. I don't know that it makes sense compared to potentially other alternatives. So since pigs aren't producing any kind of pallet, if I get rid of bees, I basically get a pallet position back that I could then use for something else. And I'm pretty tempted to consider another piece of livestock to go ahead and help with the income on the farm, so that it's not just crops, and perhaps not just pigs. I mean, not that it was just pigs, because obviously it was pigs and bees, but at this point I've determined the bees generate slowly, and it's a bit of a challenge to get things there, but I don't know that it's necessarily that different if I'm hauling eggs or wool. The only difference is, I think, while I don't know that I can really sell chickens for any kind of real value, because you also can't have chickens, you can't pick them up from the animal dealer, like you have to have them delivered. So that creates just another draw on money that, whoops, I thought I had changed direction. Obviously I had not. But yeah, you're basically then paying a delivery fee on both ends, and you have no way to not do that with chickens, because there is no chicken transport. goodness. Yeah, that did not work as I had expected, so let me sadly circle around and try this again. So, always something fun and exciting as we try to do our work and do it efficiently. We always seem to get thwarted, and so, yeah, if you take off too quickly, basically the tractor keeps going in kind of a serpentine pattern and just swinging back and forth like a pendulum. And obviously that doesn't work very well. So at this point, though, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty happy about how things are progressing, because while we've lost an FM, it looks like we'll very quickly be gaining another. Now, we have another that's definitely going to be leaving, and that Sears has said he's departing. Now, the other thing we are waiting on is, Anderson Family Farms, which was Bryce, is still present on the server, so that obviously is taking up a farm slot, but I'm thinking that will all get cleaned up in the process of getting the new FM on. But at this point, when I was looking at the farm slots, there's about 1.3 million, 1.4 million in Anderson Family Farms, and I'm sure that was him liquidating his equipment and so forth. It's just a matter now of them finishing the process and getting everything off the server appropriately, so including the farm slot, which is what we need now, although I think we still have room to get the new FM on without that. So we tidy this piece up. And I think, honestly, to avoid frustration, I really need to run one more quick headland north-south there. And then I think I'll have enough room to maneuver on the end of each end of the field to go ahead and plow this appropriately. Alright, so we'll get this. And obviously up here we're really close, so definitely need to take that into account. But it's also just once or twice that we're kind of fiddling with that. So I'm going to head back down here and just kind of keep moving up toward the road. And obviously then we'll be done when we get to the road. So just heading along slowly. I found it's always helpful to go a little bit past, because then we can align the plow a little better where we need it. Although that was not quite as straight as I would have liked, but I think it's not cutting any further over. See, I don't see a step back there, so I think it worked out. Well, we probably still have, even on this, quote, small field, probably still have at least 10 passes with this relatively large plow, so it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not something we're going to knock out too quickly. We're still getting some notes from Giants and Nitrato about ongoing issues that still don't have a resolution. But so far we've been able to keep moving along when we want to, which is kind of the important thing. I did not get on early enough, so the server really should be moved forward a little bit. February is accurate, but I think we're about 3 hours behind. So it's really in the afternoon right now. But if anybody needs to do work like me, I guess it gives them a little bit of a different opportunity today, perhaps, as far as server time whenever they get on. Because I won't be able to remedy this till I can sleep again at the appropriate times sometime in the morning. Alright, so this is technically the fourth pass, because you've got to remember that the first pass is always 0. So -3 is really 3 over from our initial line where we snapped our GPS line. So yeah, we've got, that's the silo complex, I believe, that is the sell point for the game. That was over by the field that Bryce had. Obviously his silo would be gone at this point. And then behind us is the field number 29 where Ginger is on. So when we go back the other direction, I think you're able to see his yellow implements. But yeah, pretty nice winter morning here on the server. Obviously, I guess, I don't know if I'd say the trees are budding up yet. They really shouldn't be. It's winter. It's not even early spring, but the trees certainly look like, so maybe, you know, it's the dead leaves from the fall that are still kind of hanging around is what we're really seeing. Not quite sure how I'd describe that, because here clearly we don't have any leaves, but maybe it's just the branch color. I guess we'll see as we get closer to the street what that really all looks like. But as we come back this way, once we get towards the other end of the field, on the mini-map you'll start to see some of Ginger's equipment that sits on this side of the field. But maybe we won't have 10 passes, but it will be pretty close. The other things, going back to some of the FSN sneak peeks, I guess, if you want to call it that they've given us. You know, more integration for projects. They're talking about potentially global or regional opportunities through shortages, basically, where, you know, we'll be able to participate and help. You know, similar to if you've ever done, I've got something similar to this in my virtual trucking company on the truck simulator side, where sometimes they'll do what they call promotional deliveries, and a lot of times it's, hey, the steel industry and so is short, you know, you get a bonus for delivering things that have to do with steel, for example. So I'm assuming it's going to be modeled along something similar to that. But anyway, on this end, there you go. You can see the yellow straight through the tree section there. So I think we've got a truck and a tractor sitting over there, is what we're seeing. But so there'd be another FM right across the way there. But my hope is that we'll get some more activity. Swede right now is the only multi-field owner on the map, so I'm really looking forward to some exciting things from him once he gets things moving along, now that he's gotten the plot of land that he's been waiting for. So yeah, I don't know that I can actually tell if it's been delivered to him, because it doesn't have a number that kind of lets me look on the map and see if he owns it. So I'm trying to think what else I can share with you, but it's been relatively uneventful on the farming front beyond that. So just kind of being careful again as we turn here. But yeah, it definitely looks like those are some kind of tree leaf type things, because I don't know that I would say it's just the brown off the branches, but maybe it is. It's just really hard to tell what I'm looking at there, honestly. So, looks like next pass back will be kind of the last full length, and we start going down that tapered edge that shortens it a bit. Obviously there's not much change and not many rows to finish up at that point. But yeah, I'm not sure on the animals. Like I said, I'm having a hard time even seriously thinking about cows in any way. Because again, they don't use pallets, so there is the benefit there that I could, have a facility with however many cows I want, and the milk just kind of sits in the tanks until I take it somewhere, and it doesn't cause a problem to the server where the others do. And I guess I'm frankly leaning toward, if I do another animal that has a pallet drop, that it would be sheep, for the things we talked about with the chickens, mainly the transport costs. The difference obviously between sheep and pigs is, unless we start seeing some sort of value deterioration, like there may be an opportunity to just, we won't have to keep selling animals off because they keep producing wool. And so unless they suddenly stop producing wool as they age, or start losing value as they age, which is certainly possible, it could be one of those that you just let them grow to full capacity and just let them keep going in perpetuity. But then I guess I question, and part of my struggle as I'm thinking this through is, how's that different than the bees? At that point, okay, I've got animals. It's almost more work than the bees, so, unless it pays more, which it may. It becomes this challenge of, it's still just loading a bunch of pallets. And sure, that I have sheep walking around somewhere, but I have the added thing of, like, I don't have to do anything to feed the bees. They exist and they do their thing. Where, obviously the sheep, to get the pallets out and keep them healthy, I have to keep them fed, probably have to keep them watered, depending on the pen, I guess. I assume the same applies as it did with the pigs, where unless there is a water intake point, you're not required to do anything with the water, and they're just kind of magically self-watered like my pigs are in the sty that I have now. All I have to do is provide them pig food. Alright, so at this point, I think we're looking at 2 more passes here after this, so we literally will be on 10. And it's certainly more than the 1 pass, so we will hit 10. It's just a question of, at one end, will we have a little sliver of something still left where we go into an 11th horizontal across the field here. Somehow I thought this field, when I looked at it on the map, had a notch out of the top of it, but obviously I'm wrong, because it's, for the most part, other than just slight differences on the edges here, very much a rectangular field. But the challenge exists here in the same way that it does other places. There's just not a lot of space here to create a yard or do something. I don't know if the forest over here comes with 28 or 29, or if somehow it's totally separate. But You know, that's a potential possibility if that's included in the parcel of land. But other than that, it's the same problem a lot of the FMs have had, including myself, frankly. It's just I knew where I was going to put it, and I knew I already owned those woods, but so yeah, a lot going on from that regard for whoever, you know, for who's coming down here, because you know, they've got a road on one end. They can't get within 5 meters of the road, so once again, unless they're going to want to really cut into the field, there's not a lot of space right now to build on this. So yeah, if I go here, yeah, 28 actually has a lot of forest, but yeah, this isn't showing as green, so I'm guessing that they haven't awarded that plot to Swede just yet. But typically, I'm assuming, just like farmland, if they wanted to do something, if they know they've won the auction, they would be able to start working on it early. And the challenge there is if he's truly looking to do something like I did, to cut out some space for a yard, you know, this would be the last day for them to do it until next winter. Obviously, they could wait and take some time and just use this year in a bit of a planning cycle of what they're going to do. But so this is row -10 on my GPS alignment. So definitely getting there, and we will then be finished. Now, yeah, I want to come back this way, because it's still going to be quicker to head back and go up to the custom silo location where this is stored to the FSN space, and go from there. But yeah, nothing else has come up on auction other than those 2 parcels, which is fine. Not looking to spend my life plowing different fields here. It's good to have it spaced out like it's been. So I do appreciate the random number generator working in my favor as things come up. But at this point, yeah, it looks like the wood's there. And you know, as we now head out this way and leave, you know, all the woods over here, including around the turn, are going to be available for them to do things. So this actually might not be a bad plot for someone to start out with, because they've got room to do what they need without necessarily having to have something else come available. You know, and there's, I think this is field 25 up here. Yeah. So this thing is huge, and it's just a question of, would the FM who's buying 28 want to do that and take on something that large? But they may. And I don't know what financial position they are in. So that was one of the challenges with Bryce, was that he really had been focusing on the knots side, entrepreneurs, which is the meta side, or the web side of the universe. So he had a lot of money there, and he's under the same stipulations that we are, which is the acreage you have is how much you can then funds transfer from meta over to the FSN side, to the farming side. And the problem is, obviously, when you're just starting out, like the land he had was that tiny field at field 20, and that was it. So I'm half tempted. I may just do that. I'm going to cut the episode off, though, because I think you've seen enough plowing. Clearly, I'm not even coming up with fun things to chat about. But I think while I'm down here, because I'm just going to regret it otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and plow up 20, which is where Bryce was, because at some point it'll come up for auction, and then I would have to do it then anyway, and it's really not that large, and I'm down here, and I've got a little bit of time that I can do it. So I'm going to leave you here, knowing that that's my other planned portion of work, but I'm going to be doing that, and I will see you next time.